If you're anything like us, or honestly, pretty much anyone living today, you know the feeling, right? The constant phone pings, that endless scroll, maybe like 10 browser tabs open. And just this feeling that your focus isn't what it used to be. Feels genuinely hard to concentrate on, meaningful stuff sometimes. But what if there was a skill, almost like a superpower, that could help you cut through all that noise and really change how you work, maybe even how you live? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into, the skill of deep work. We're pulling the key ideas straight from Cal Newport's fantastic book, Deep Work, Focus in a Distracted World. So our goal here is simple. We want to pull out the absolute must-know insights and the practical takeaways from this source. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding a skill that could genuinely reshape your work and, yeah, your personal life too.
That's absolutely right. And it's a key to see this not just as some productivity hack. It's really framed as a path to growth, to achieving significant things and finding, well, real meaning in what you do. So we'll dig into why it's so critical now, what actually stops most of us from doing it, and importantly, how you can start mastering it.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Cal Newport kicks things off by defining deep work. My first reaction was isn't that just focusing? How does he really set it apart from just regular concentration? Why is that difference so important?
That's a great starting point because it is definitely more than just standard concentration. Fundamentally, deep work is about the ability to focus completely without any distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's the kind of work that really stretches your brain, you know? It improves your skills significantly and produces things of real, tangible value. Think about writing a challenging report or maybe solving a tough technical problem or really digging into strategic planning. When you're in deep work, you're pushing your abilities.
Right, that makes sense. You're creating something, learning something, and then he immediately contrasts it with its opposite, right? Shallow work. And we've all had those days, busy, busy, busy. But at the end, you think, what did I actually do? Is that what shallow work is?
That's exactly it. Shallow work covers all those tasks that, well, don't require much intense thinking. They're often logistical or administrative, like constantly checking and firing off emails, attending meetings that maybe aren't super necessary or productive, or just that mindless scrolling on social media. These things feel productive because you're doing something, you're active, but they don't really help you get better at your core skills or produce high-value output. So the key difference, deep work creates lasting value and helps you grow. Shallow work, it mostly just fills time. It's activity, but not necessarily progress.
Okay, so deep work sounds incredibly beneficial, especially now with all the distractions. I'm really curious, what does Newport say is the main reason it's such a powerful skill, like right now in today's world?
Well, he gives us 4 pretty big reasons, and they kind of stack up. First off, deep work is rare. Just think about the average workplace or even just daily life. Most people are constantly interrupted, jumping between emails, apps, messages. So the ability to actually sustain deep focus, it's become really unusual. And, basic economics tells us anything rare is valuable. Second, linked to that, deep work is inherently valuable. The modern economy, it really rewards people who can do 2 key things: learn complex skills quickly and produce high-quality work efficiently. Both of those things, they absolutely depend on deep, focused effort. So if you can do deep work, you have a serious advantage. Third, and this one's really fascinating, deep work actually makes you better. He uses the analogy of the brain being like a muscle. The more you push it with intense, focused work, the stronger and more capable it becomes. You literally get better at learning, at problem solving. It builds cognitive capacity. And the fourth reason, which might be the most profound, is that deep work brings meaning. There's a real sense of satisfaction, engagement, even pride, that comes from losing yourself in a challenging task and making progress. It fights that feeling of fragmentation or emptiness that can come from too much shallow activity. It connects you to your work.
That point about deep work, making you better, not just more productive, but actually strengthening your brain, that feels like a huge edge. Does the book give examples of how that brain muscle idea plays out? Maybe in ways you wouldn't expect.
Oh, definitely. Think about someone who rapidly masters a really complex new software or learns a new language incredibly quickly. That isn't just raw talent. It's often the result of applying intense, undistracted, focused, deep work consistently. Newport argues that our ability to really grasp difficult concepts, to synthesize information, it hinges on that sustained attention. It's like doing mental heavy lifting. It builds endurance, lets you tackle bigger challenges, the kind of ambiguous problems others might avoid because they can't maintain the focus needed.
Okay, this is all making a very strong case for why we should all be aiming for more deep work. But let's be real, if it's so great, why isn't everyone doing it all the time? What are the big obstacles, the enemies of focus, as Newport calls them, that get in our way?
Yeah, that's the crucial question, isn't it? And he points to several major culprits. A huge one is, unsurprisingly, social media and related apps. Things like Instagram, TikTok, even news feeds, they are literally designed by very smart people to capture and hold your attention. They offer these little hits of dopamine, these rewards, but they fragment your focus and consume vast amounts of time and mental energy. Then there's the physical work environment itself. Open plan offices, for instance, while maybe intended to foster collaboration, are often disastrous for concentration due to constant noise and interruptions. Email overload is another big one. Many people feel like they spend their entire day just managing their inbox, reacting to messages, rather than proactively doing the most important work. And finally, there's a really insidious cultural factor, this idea that being busy is good. We often confuse visible activity like rushing between meetings or having a constantly full inbox with actual productivity. This traps people in shallow work because it looks like they're working hard.
Oh man, those all hit close to home, especially that busy equals productive trap. It's so easy to fall into. I wonder, does Newport offer advice on how you actually convince, say, your boss or your team that carving out time for quiet, deep work is more valuable than just looking busy all the time? Because that's a practical hurdle for a lot of people.
He addresses it more by implication, I think. The focus isn't so much on persuading others with words, but rather on demonstrating the results of deep work. When you start consistently delivering higher quality work, solving tougher problems, maybe generating more innovative ideas because you've dedicated focused time, those results tend to speak for themselves. It naturally shifts the conversation from how many hours did you look busy to what incredible value did you actually create. The output becomes the argument.
That's a really good way to think about it. Let the results do the talking. Okay, so the problem is clear. The enemies are known. But the good news is the book doesn't just leave us there. Newport lays out 4 clear, actionable rules for cultivating deep work. Where do we start with those?
Right, the practical part. Rule number 1 is simply work deeply. This sounds obvious, but it means actively building routines and rituals that protect your ability to focus. It involves things like scheduling specific blocks of time for deep work, maybe finding a quiet location where you won't be interrupted, setting a very clear, specific goal for that session, and crucially, resisting the urge to multitask. So an example might be, okay, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. today, I'm closing my email, putting my phone on silent, and I'm only going to work on drafting that project proposal. Doing this regularly, even if you start small, builds the habit and makes it easier over time. It's about deliberate practice. Then, rule number 2 is embrace boredom. This one might feel a bit strange at first. Our default behavior now, the moment we have a free second waiting in line, walking somewhere is to grab our phone, right? Newport argues this constant need for stimulation actually erodes our ability to sustain focus when we need it. So the advice is to consciously retrain your brain to be okay with, well, not being constantly entertained, maybe just stand in line and think, or take a walk without headphones or checking your phone. Try delaying your response to notifications. Just sit quietly for a few minutes. These small acts help rebuild your tolerance for less stimulation, which paradoxically strengthens your focus muscle.
That embrace boredom one really hits me. I know I reach for my phone automatically. It feels almost like a reflex. Does Newport suggest any specific, hacks or techniques beyond just try not to grab your phone to actually retrain that craving? Because it feels like fighting an addiction sometimes.
Yeah, it can feel that way. One technique he mentions is what he calls productive meditation. This involves taking a period of time when you're occupied physically, but not mentally, like walking, jogging, maybe even showering, and focusing your attention on a single, well-defined professional problem. You let your mind mull it over, and whenever it drifts, you just gently bring it back to that problem. It's like practicing focus in a low-stakes environment, training your brain to sustain attention even without intense external pressure. Okay, rule number 3 is probably the most controversial for some. Quit social media. Now, he clarifies it's not necessarily about quitting all platforms forever, but recognizing that most are engineered for addiction and are major time sinks that offer little deep value. The practical suggestion is to try a 30-day detox. Just step away completely. After that month, evaluate each platform really critically. Ask yourself, does using this tool provide a significant benefit to my life or work that outweighs the negatives? If the answer isn't a clear yes, he suggests deleting it or drastically limiting its use. He has a great line. Social media is optional, focus is not. It really frames the choice. And the final rule, rule number 4, is drain the shallows. Look, some shallow work is just part of most jobs, answering routine emails, admin tasks, quick coordination. You can't eliminate it entirely. But if you're not careful, it will expand to fill your entire day. So the goal is to minimize it and contain it. One powerful method is time blocking. Schedule everything in your day, including blocks for shallow tasks. This helps prevent them from bleeding into your deep work time. Also, get comfortable saying no to non-essential meetings or requests that don't align with your core goals. And for things like email, try batching it. Instead of checking constantly, set aside specific short blocks 2 or 3 times a day to process it efficiently. Clear, concise communication helps here too.
These rules sound incredibly powerful, but also demanding. Discipline is key. But I can hear some listeners thinking, my job isn't like a writer's cabin. I have meetings, team stuff. Oh. Does Newport acknowledge that different roles and lifestyles might need different ways to implement this?
Oh, absolutely. He's very clear that one size doesn't fit all. He actually outlines 4 different philosophies or styles of scheduling deep work, recognizing different constraints. There's a monastic style. This is the most extreme, maximizing deep work, minimizing or eliminating almost all shallow obligations. Think of a researcher holdup or a writer on retreat. It requires a lot of autonomy. Then there's the bimodal style. This involves dividing your time into clearly distinct chunks. For example, you might dedicate several full days each week purely to deep work and then handle all the shallow stuff on the other days. Or maybe dedicate a season, like taking a month off for a deep project. Probably the most accessible for many is the rhythmic style. This is about creating a regular daily habit. You set aside the same block of time each day, maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours every morning for deep work. It becomes automatic, like exercise. He often recommends this for beginners. And lastly, the journalistic style. This is for people whose schedules are very unpredictable. It involves fitting deep work in whenever you get an unexpected pocket of free time, maybe an hour between meetings. It requires a lot of mental discipline to switch gears quickly.
That's really helpful, knowing there are different models. So, okay, you pick a style that fits. What other practical tips or tools does the book suggest to really make deep work stick, to make it a sustainable habit?
Yeah, beyond the main rules and styles, he offers several useful tactics. One is the shutdown ritual. At the very end of your workday, take maybe 5-10 minutes. Review any open loops, check your calendar for tomorrow, make a rough plan, and then consciously say to yourself out loud or in your head, shut down complete. This simple act helps signal to your brain that it's okay to disengage from work, preventing those tasks from rattling around in your head all evening and improving your rest. Another tip is optimizing your workspace for focus. Simple things. Keep your phone out of sight, maybe even in another room. Use noise-canceling headphones if needed. Keep your desk tidy. Visual clutter can be mentally distracting. And something really effective is simply tracking your deep work hours. Keep a tally each day of how much time you spent in genuine, focused, deep work. Just the act of tracking makes you more conscious of it, and you can aim to gradually increase it over time, like building up reps at the gym. What's great about all this is how flexible it is. You really can tailor it to your own situation and start seeing benefits fairly quickly.
Okay, so let's pull this all together for everyone listening. What are the absolute core truths we should take away from this deep dive into Newport's ideas?
There are a few quotes and ideas from the book that really capture the essence. One is, clarity about what matters provides clarity about what does not. Basically, when you truly know what your most important work is, it becomes much easier to recognize and discard the trivial stuff that wastes your time. It acts like a filter. Another powerful one. If you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled or talented you are. It's a blunt reminder that potential isn't enough. You have to actually create tangible value through focused effort. And this one ties back to learning. To learn hard things quickly, you must focus intensely without distraction. It highlights that deep focus isn't just for productivity, it's the prerequisite for rapid skill acquisition in any field.
Right. So let's recap the whole journey. This deep dive showed us that deep work is all about that full, undivided focus on challenging tasks. It leads to growth, real achievement, and importantly, a sense of fulfillment. Its opposite, shallow work, is mostly just being busy without creating much value. We've seen that deep work is increasingly rare and therefore incredibly valuable in our super distracted world. The path forward involves 4 key rules. First, work deeply by creating routines and protecting your focus. Second, embrace boredom to strengthen your attention span. Third, quit or curtail social media that doesn't serve you. And fourth, drain the shallows by actively managing and minimizing those less valuable tasks. A key takeaway seems to be the power of starting small. Even just an hour or 2 of focused work daily can make a huge difference. Using strategies like time blocking, establishing rituals, and guarding your mental space from distractions are crucial. And the long-term payoff, it's not just better work results, but also greater job satisfaction and a stronger, more resilient mind. Ultimately, this isn't just about tweaking your schedule or finding a new productivity app. It's really about intentionally designing a better life, one where you're engaged in meaningful work, you're constantly growing, and you feel less overwhelmed by the digital noise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, in a world that seems to be getting noisier and more fragmented by the minute, the person who cultivates the ability to focus deeply, they're going to have a massive advantage. They'll learn faster, create more impactful work, and likely find more meaning in what they do.
So here's the invitation, the call to action for you listening. Start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just pick one important task, something that requires real thought. Turn off the distractions, phone away, email closed. Set a timer for maybe just 30 minutes and dive in. Give it your full attention. Then do it again tomorrow and the day after. Because, as Newport emphasizes, building this superpower really happens one focused hour at a time.